So I would have shot my son 4 times. Hey, everybody! I can't remember how you did the whole thing.
Welcome back to the 5th episode of the Extremely Low Budget Podcast.
This week with us, once again, is your core 3, Derek, Alex, and myself, Kyle. No fun names. I can't think of any. Any that relate to this topic, at least.
Can I beat Mike Myers?
Next week, maybe. This week, we've all selected our favorite underrated horror movie. Now, what that means is it's essentially any horror movie that is not part of a big name franchise. So no Friday the 13th, no Texas Chainsaw Massacres, no Halloweens.
No Slender.
No Slender Man.
No Slender Man.
That movie's just... It's kind of taken off in a way that I don't think we really could have expected.
Should I just state the movie that we chose?
No.
No, we'll reveal it sequentially as each person says it.
Yeah, y'all people watching this video, you can check the description and Kyle will have added timestamps so that you know when we start reviewing each movie.
I know, but whenever I do it, you can't click on it and just jump straight to it. It has to be done in the comment section.
On mobile, only on mobile. You can click on it on computer.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So those mobile peasants have to deal with it.
But on the comments in mobile, it still
On
works.
the comments in mobile,
That's
it
dumb.
works.
That is dumb.
Because I did it for one of them.
No, I did it for one of them, and then I added it to the description.
No, I did it for Venom. The Venom one. I added each timestamp for when our playlist played. And
Well,
you can't click 'em.
He'll do it again for this one?
And I'll go back and I'll do it for the Saw one.
Oh, no you won't. Will you really?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Okay, well then... So then you guys can figure out what movies we're going to review. Based off the description, I'm sure.
Yeah, but fun story about last week's podcast episode that Alex doesn't know yet.
Oh.
Do I?
We went...
Oh, yes.
We had so many technical difficulties with that episode. I want to say I was at about Saw 5 in editing, and I had to stop so Derek and I could come and watch The Walking Dead. And when I went back to go and edit again, the entire file had been completely corrupted.
No.
And I could not figure out how to get it back. The audio didn't save anywhere, so I couldn't start fresh. And it was... Oh, man. I was furious. Derek caught some of the brunt of that flame. But I wound up finding a YouTube video that told me how to fix it, which... Thank God, because the thought of even starting over on it was driving me crazy. Because just editing the audio file alone for an hour-long podcast would probably take me up to 2.5 hours to do.
Yeah.
So on one that was 3.5 hours long, that took me what felt like 8 to 9 hours just to edit the audio. And then I had to go back and add in the pictures. But luckily, I recovered it all. And then I went to post it. And it said it was processing. It hit 95%. And was like, all right, to get that last 5%, it's going to take another 45 minutes. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So the 45-minute timer goes down, hits 0, and then starts again. And it doesn't even jump to 96%. So I was like, God damn it. And so I canceled the upload and started it again, which is when I got a comment on a video that was like, oh, look, a new podcast episode. And I was taken by surprise because I was like, I canceled the upload, but somehow it still made it up. So... Last week's was just...
Let the record show that I told him that it actually uploaded and that it was a glitch and he didn't listen to me.
It was a jumbled mess last week, so we're going to try and make this one a little more clean and on time, considering the last one was posted, only 4 days late.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, now we're going to talk about our underrated horror movies. The reason everyone is on this video right now anyways, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I do think I'm going to keep it a mystery until we reveal it.
Yeah, assuming they're not in one video.
Right. We have each picked our own movie
Yep.
And so because of that, we are each going to talk more about our own movie, and the rest of us will obviously chime in kind of at the end.
I think we should each give a what's the story, but only off the top of our heads with no notes.
Oh, Jesus. Of the full movie?
Yeah.
I was just thinking, pretend that you've been tasked to write the back of the DVD box. Give me the important information that I need to know
so
about
it's the
this
same
movie.
deal.
Yeah, pretty much. But you don't have to go super, super in depth. Give me, the story about it. Give me why you like it. And the rest of us will kind of talk about what we felt when we watched the movie, because we all watched each other's movies.
Right.
Derek still doesn't even know what mine is, though.
I'm going to try and guess it. You got to give me a hint and I'll guess it this episode.
All right, well.
All right, we're going to go Red Robin style?
Red Robin style.
Around the Robin symbol?
Sure deal. I don't know.
Round Robin.
Yeah.
No, because it's like a batarang shape.
What?
I don't know.
All right, go ahead and kick it off, Derek. What was your movie?
I picked They Live.
He picked They Live.
I picked They Live. Most importantly, I picked They Live. It's not necessarily my favorite underrated horror movie. Because
here's the one other thing I was going to ask each person to do is give me your two runner-ups for this topic. If you had two other movies on your mind that you almost picked, let me know what those were.
So this is kind of technically my runner-up, because this isn't my favorite underrated horror movie. If I was going to pick my absolute favorite, it would be War of the Gargantuas. But I know then it'd be like, I don't want to watch a giant kaiju movie.
I mean, we would have done it for the podcast, Eric.
But out of respect for you guys, I picked, which I can't say that for one of our Thanksgiving episodes. Yeah. You guys will not be that lucky. But out of respect, I didn't do that. The other one that I would have picked would be Tremors. I think is an awesome movie. Then if I was going to go in that kind of vein of like not a mainstream, but like a horror movie that's not a kaiju movie as one of my runner-ups, it would have been Reanimator, because that movie's just wild and bizarre and naked and hilarious. So I think that'd be a fun one to talk about. But I picked They Live, which is the story of, what is this called? Rowdy Roddy Piper. Rowdy Roddy Piper. He gets some magic sunglasses. He gets them because there's some sort of situation going on that he uncovers. He's like Roddy Piper's the detective on the case in some sort of. He's not an actual detective, but he's doing some self-detecting.
Straight up stumbles upon it.
He goes into like a church and steals sunglasses from this church that notices aliens. And then he puts them on, and when he puts on the sunglasses, he can see the aliens around him, and he can see that they have influenced society, and then he beats up Frank. So Roddy Piper and Frank are teaming up to take down the aliens, or whatever they are, that have infested our society. And that's the movie.
Wow, that was real brief.
Yeah.
You didn't even mention the most famous line to come out of this movie.
Okay, well, I thought I was going to get to that in like the what's good about it.
All right, you can get to it in the what's good about it.
I better.
Why do you love this movie?
This movie is hilarious. I don't know if it's intentionally. This is a John Carpenter movie, right?
It is.
It's a John Carpenter movie. He does the soundtrack. This movie is hilarious. I picked this movie mostly because in the Halloween music episode of the podcast, I picked the theme song to They Live because it's its own character in this movie, and I wanted everyone in the podcast to understand. This movie, everything about this movie I think is so funny and fun. Mm-hmm. It's just, you got like the greatest one-liner of all time, which has been parodied in everything, as far up as the most recent that I know is Spider-Man 2018 The Game, which is when Roddy Piper busts in the bank and says, "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum." And he just guns down the alien bankers.
Here's my favorite part about that scene is he's the only one that sees aliens.
They're just thinking he's killing humans.
He's just gunning down people.
Yeah.
It's so good. There's this weird girl who winds up being a bad guy, and she's like working with the aliens, but she's not an alien. There's like these weird scenes where she like shoves him out the window or something, and he like falls all the way down this massive cliff outside of her house, and I can't even describe all the weird things that happen in this movie.
Now, what is the greatest moment in this movie? And you know the greatest moment in this
movie.
The
greatest moment in this movie has, if it doesn't have the world record, then that means Guinness didn't watch this movie. The longest one-on-one fist fight in cinematic history happens when Roddy Piper and Frank duke it out for over 5 straight minutes. And every time one of them wins, the other one will get back up and restart the fight. It's awesome.
Oh, it's such a wild movie.
This movie's amazing.
It's very unique, that's for sure.
Yeah, is this your first time watching it?
Not necessarily. I've seen parts of it before, but people talk about it. I don't want to say they talk about it a lot, but there's definitely people who like to talk about it because it's so unique and interesting.
It's a massive cult movie for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know, it's just fun. It's fun to watch.
Oh yeah.
It's an interesting concept, so it's just like, I want to see what happens.
Yeah, and I love a lot of the imagery in that movie. The aliens' faces, for one, are super cool.
Yeah.
And, every time he's got the glasses on, he can see all of the advertisements around the world are all
subliminal messages.
From the aliens. Yeah, subliminal messages telling them to obey or stay asleep or... Just, it's so good.
Yeah.
And it's so insane.
It's like a conspiracy theory come true.
Yes.
Basically.
Uh-huh. It's also got, a lot of really understated aspects to it. You hear a lot of people nowadays saying, I hate how over-expositionary this movie was. Why can't they show and not tell? In this movie, there are, really long, uncomfortably long stretches of no dialogue where you're just watching the character figure things out by himself. And then there's the character deaths in here aren't supposed to be these huge cinematic deaths. They're kind of underwhelming, and I think it's intentionally that way because this is John Carpenter. So he is in the horror genre. He knows how to make an underwhelming and yet still satisfying character death, and I think you get that with all your core characters in here. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's anything in this movie that I don't like. I mean, it's a super cheesy, goofy movie, and there are some kind of boring stretches in it.
Yeah.
But I think this movie's hilarious. I have so much fun with this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just fun. It's a fun movie to watch. It's not scary.
It's not scary.
It's kind of creepy if you take it seriously. You know, because having these aliens that basically control Earth and nobody knows. It's
but in a very realistic way.
Exactly, that's the thing. Is if that was real,
you wouldn't know.
Yeah, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's what's
that's definitely cool. The genius behind this movie. Is it's an alien invasion movie that is not an alien invasion movie.
Right, and then there's this weird part where they go to the moon or wherever they go
to the alien ship.
And there's bidding. There's all the rich elite on Earth are there because they know about the aliens and they're helping them or whatever. Lots of good stuff in here. There's that one drunk guard that lets Roddy Piper in and just does his thing. Or whatever he's doing. I don't even know. I think this movie's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
John Carpenter. It's a John Carpenter movie with a John Carpenter soundtrack.
Yeah.
That you'll never forget.
Yeah. I don't even know if I have anything bad to say about the movie.
I definitely don't.
I mean, when did it come out?
I don't know. But like I said,
came out.
It's not 100% perfect. There are some boring parts in here. Especially at the homeless camp at the start.
Yeah, you can't expect it to be perfect.
It came out in 1988.
Yeah.
And goddamn does it feel like an 80s movie.
It does.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's good. You consider when it came out and you're like, well, they didn't have a whole lot of new technology they could have done with everything, but it still looks good even in today's standards.
Yeah, I don't think it was held back by anything
it's kind
added in the movie.
Yeah, it's kind of like how we were talking about the original Predator, is it still holds up today because they didn't do anything too insane. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which I have a problem with one of the other movies on this list because I feel like they did do that.
And he only knows one of the other movies on this list, and that's Alex's movie. Alex, why don't you tell us about it?
So I should say what movie it was?
Yes.
All right. So I chose The Mist. Just the first time I watched this movie, I don't know if I knew what the ending was, but it was. When I saw the ending, I was like, "Oh man, no other movie has this the same way."
Massive spoiler warning for The Mist.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, which I think it came out in the 2007. 2007. Yeah. But basically, so like, there's this huge storm that comes in, and we follow this guy and his son basically, and they go to the grocery store in town. They live kind of like, I don't know, maybe a few miles out of town, like a small town where everybody knows each other. And everybody's going to the grocery store to get groceries, and they notice like a mist off in the distance, like a big fog rolling in. They're like, oh, that's kind of weird, but it's just after the storm or whatever. So they all go in town to get groceries, and everybody's at the grocery store. And all of a sudden the fog rolls in and everything, and people are starting to go crazy. They're running up to the door saying there's something out there. Some dude died. And so then now they're stuck in the grocery store because they're afraid to go outside because they have no idea what's out there. And then eventually they find out because people are getting killed. Like one of the bagger gets pulled under the garage door, which I love because he's like getting pulled and he smacks his head on it.
Yeah.
And so they find out that it's like something from a different world basically, and then there's like a huge power struggle in the grocery store because some people want to do something, other people want to do something else. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They think some people have knowledge and other people don't, so they're trying to figure out who knows what. And then eventually they find out some things. There's a couple like Marines in there that it turns out they know what was going on because they were doing some experiments like at this military base that's nearby. And so two of the Marines kill themselves, and then they get some info out of one of the other Marines, and they end up killing him because this one girl ends up getting all the power in the grocery store, which she is unbearable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's like this big religious
Fanatic,
whack job.
for sure.
Yeah. So, and because they don't have anything else to do, they all decide to just start listening to her because she acts like she knows what's going on or whatever. They don't have any other basis, so they're like, well, we might as well follow what she's saying.
Can't prove that she's not right.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, one of her predictions came true. That means all of them did.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and it's a vague prediction.
Yeah.
Right? But anyway, so then they're eventually, after people are dying or whatever, they're like, well, this isn't letting up. Well, and they have like a big battle in the grocery store where they're trying to fortify all the glass windows and everything, and more people die and whatever. Eventually they're trying to get out, so they... Oh, well, and after the whole, like, fight, so many people died. There's some dude that got burned mostly to death. Yep. It does not go their way at all. They had a huge plan that did not work out. And mostly by, like, miscommunication. It wasn't necessarily that they got overpowered by the things, which, I mean, they did, but they still did a pretty good job. But anyway, whatever happens, they end up getting out with, like, 5 of them. And then they start they start driving away in the fog, and then they're just kind of driving along, whatever. They run out of fuel, and they're like, well, we don't have anything to do because the mist is still here. So the main character, I forget what his name is.
It is David Drayton. Yeah,
David, good old David, pulls out his revolver, and they're like, all right, well, I guess we got to kill ourselves. And I like this scene because they don't say anything. They're like, well, we might as well kill ourselves.
Yeah,
it's all silent. Yeah, he just pulls out the gun and they just know. And so he's left with 4 bullets and 5 people. So he's like, I guess I'll take one for the team and I'll kill all you guys and I'll figure something out.
Now, who were these guys? Because this is the most important part.
Well, there's the old couple in the back.
I don't think they were a couple, but they're
not a couple, but
right,
there's 2 old people.
There's a couple of old folks in there.
Yeah. They aren't as important, are they? I can't remember exactly.
So one of them, the man,
He was the first one to run up and tell them that
there's monsters in the mist.
Yeah.
He showed up right as the mist rolled in and not broken, but,
yeah, but he was all covered in blood, and he's like, there's something in the mist!
Yeah.
And he tells them that some dude died, whatever.
The old lady has just kind of been this, like, subtle badass through the whole movie, where she's like... I mean, she knows everybody.
Yeah.
She's the one that basically gives all the character descriptions in the movie. Because she's like, oh, this is her, and she's a teacher for autistic kids. And this is him. He's a guy that makes posters for horror movies. But then she also, like, goes on runs with them. She's like,
I noticed that.
Lady, and she's just like, oh, we need to go to the pharmacy? I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll do this.
I kept thinking it was going to be like a big thing where she was like going to die of like a heart attack or something. Because they make a point at the beginning when she's like, I'm old and I'm not moving as well as I used to or whatever. And so I was like, uh-oh.
I just think her idea was like, man, I'm old, I'm going to die soon anyway. I might as well try to be some help.
Yeah.
Monsters in the Mist, shit ain't going to slow me down.
Yeah. She's like, I'm either going to die now or die in 5 years from old age.
Yeah.
But yeah, those two weren't as important, except for, I guess, the old lady helped look after his son, which was
pretty much the whole movie, yeah.
Yeah, the most important character there is his son, that he protects the whole time, and, like, he does everything for, because that's all he has, because he left his wife at home.
Who they're hoping is still alive, but
yeah,
it turns out that she is not.
They go and find out that she is definitely not alive.
Yes.
And then there's the lady that also kind of helps out.
Yeah, the school teacher.
The new mom.
Yeah, new mom.
New mom, because, there's some sexual tension there. But yeah, so he pulls out the gun and cuts to a little shot where he shoots all the people in the car except for himself, and he screams. He's really upset about it. Which, I mean, if it's the first time you're watching it and you don't know what the ending is, it hits hard.
Oh yeah.
You're like, damn, like, but like, it came so far. And so he gets out to have the monster come and snatch him up and kill him, so he can just be dead, because he's like, he can't take what he did. And so he hears the monster coming, and it's like, this big, like, low noise that's coming towards him. Music starts, turns out it was a military tank, and the fog starts going away within seconds of him killing everybody in the car. So he's just, like, sitting there, like, all these military cars are rolling up, and he doesn't know how to take it.
Yeah.
So he's just, like, sitting there watching it happen, and then he sees, like, one of the people that ran out into the mist to go home to her kids. She rolls by in one of the military trucks with her kids. So somehow she got out of all the mist.
Yeah.
And so he's like, wow, like, I was trying to do the best thing for everybody, and it turns out everything just went wrong.
Yep.
So then he collapses to his knees and he screams, and that's pretty much the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. If he just would have waited 1 minute, literally a minute, everything would have worked out for the 5 of them.
Yeah.
So, but he still went through a lot of death and whatnot throughout the movie. Still lost a lot of lives.
That is one of the most, like, hauntingly dark endings to a movie I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, that's why I love it so much. Yeah. Not necessarily everything in between, which I don't mind everything in between the movie, but the ending is just so good that I have to love it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever wanted a character to die more in my entire life than David Drayton at the end of that movie, where he killed his own son just for the fog to go away. I was like, do anything to get yourself killed right now, because this is a life that you will not, like...
Yeah, you don't need a sequel to The Mist, because you know how his story ends, and it does not go much further past this point.
Yeah, probably not.
He's killing himself.
Yeah.
But, and then, one thing I wanted to add was, I told you guys what the original ending in the book was.
Yeah.
In the Stephen King book. And the original ending was... they're just driving through the mist, they run out of gas, and then the entire earth is consumed in the mist, and that's basically how it ends, is these creatures from another dimension come through and they take over the earth.
I think this is a much better ending.
It's a much better ending.
In fact, Stephen
King himself loved the ending more than his original. He's like, damn, I can't believe I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a much better ending. Frank Darabont movie.
Give
credit to Frank Darabont for the ending, probably. I don't know who wrote the movie, but I'd assume he had a big, heavy influence in that ending.
And Frank Darabont is the guy who was director.
Showrunner, director directed, I think, the pilot maybe for seasons 1 and 2 of The Walking Dead.
Yep.
There's lots of cast members in here that were in The Walking Dead, so that's fun.
Yeah. Laurie Holden, who played Andrea.
Mm-hmm.
You had
Dale.
Jeffrey DeMunn, who played Dale. And
Melissa McBride,
who played Carol.
Yep.
Those were the Walking Dead cast members. Other notable ones would be Thomas Jane, who played David Drayton, who we all know fondly as Tourette's guy from The Predator.
Yes, sir.
Well, I didn't even know that until you said something,
and
then I looked at his...
Yeah, I mean, I looked it up because I was like, who is this? Like, he has
That's
to
how
be
I was.
someone.
That's how I was with the girl who gets stung in the neck and her neck bloats. I was like, dude, she looks so familiar.
Was she anybody?
No, but she looks just like that chick from Deep Space Nine, who has the alien in her or whatever.
Oh, Jax.
Looks identical to her.
I didn't think so, but...
No, she does.
You also had Andre Broder, I think is how you say his name.
Little kid?
Captain Holt from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, who I love. Toby Jones, who is not Baron Zemo from Captain America.
Toby Jones is the bad guy from the first... He's not the bad guy, but he's a bad guy in the first and second Captain America movies. He turns himself into a computer in Winter Soldier.
Another one, I'm not... Oh, Jim, the slack-jawed yokel in this movie, the attendant who was just not super bright. He was played by a guy named William Sadler, who was the Grim Reaper in Bill and Ted 2.
Oh, good.
And I was like, something about him is familiar, but I would not have guessed that.
They should have had a line in here where he keeps losing in bets or whatever and keeps having to go like best 3 out of 5.
Exactly.
Best 5 out of 7.
Nathan Gamble, who played the son, who was also Jim Gordon's son in the Dark Knight films.
Mm-hmm.
And last...
I recognized him immediately.
You know, he didn't stick out to me, but once you said it, I was like, yep, that's exactly who that is. The last notable one would be Sam Witwer, who was the military guy who was killed by cult leader lady.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Marine, who is a very Star Wars voice actor.
Yeah, he did basically all of the Darth Maul or Palpatine, I think. I mean, he didn't he was only a voice actor. He didn't really play any of the characters.
Right. Yeah.
So any of the animated series, any of the games, I think he did Battlefront and he did The Force Unleashed.
Yep.
So.
And Derek, you'll of course recognize him from Always Sunny in Philadelphia as Muscle Guy.
Yeah.
Oh, Muscle Guy.
Yeah, Muscle Guy. But more importantly, you might actually remember his face from The Walking Dead when he was Tank Soldier, I think.
Sam Witwer?
Yeah.
Yeah, in first episode?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
I knew his face was familiar.
I knew his name.
I
knew his name, but I remember his name from Darth Maul.
Yeah, he was the Tank Soldier in Walking Dead.
He's got a very chiseled face.
Indeed.
One thing that I think is great about The Mist is that you start the movie with quite a few bad actors, and they're the ones who die right away. And so then once you're clear of them, it's like, here we go. The Bagger Boy was the one that stuck out to me especially, is like, this kid does not know how to act. And he dies immediately. I was like, yeah, there we go.
I'm pretty sure he was the first to go.
He is.
Yeah.
Captain Holt is a good one, though, and he goes quick.
That was unfortunate. I was really hoping he'd be in the whole movie. He provided some interesting conflict among the people in the store.
I would have liked to see him make it to the end with that religious girl. Yeah. I would have liked to see an ideological battle between the two of them.
Yeah. I mean, she really outshined him, though. She actually won an award for being such that religious, crazy fanatic.
Really?
She won an award for this movie because of that character, and props to her. I hated her.
Yeah,
I know.
Makes her so hateable.
So unlikable.
It's
man.
really great, actually.
It's not one that you like to hate either, because I wanted her dead the whole movie.
No,
yeah.
But she was a...
Immediately she starts with that shit. And then once she starts getting a little cult following, you're like, no, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, if I was your main crew when I was leaving the store at the very end, I would have busted the door on my way out so that they would all die. They're bad people in there. I don't want them
they all
to
tried
be the
to
ones...
sacrifice the kid.
Yeah, I don't want that being the ones that restart society.
Yeah.
And then they're going to get a huge... They're going to be like, oh, we were right. We were right.
Oh, yeah.
And so then what are they going to do after that?
God knows.
The Mist 2. What comes after?
The Mist 2. There's no mist. It's just a world run by lunatics who think they were right in sacrificing children.
Yeah, I thought the cast was great. I thought that the tone of the movie was great. The ending was fantastic. Only complaint I had was the special effects.
Yeah,
or-
there's
2007 special effects.
Yeah, I mean,
not very good.
not much you can do
I don't
about
say
it,
I
but-
can't. I don't think you can say that. I can think of so many movies that came out before then and after then around the same time that are better.
I don't know what their budget was.
Yeah, I mean...
Oh, true. I don't know what the
gotta-
budget was, but still, you could have pulled off a lot of this stuff with practical
They
effects.
could have.
And it would have looked better. It would have looked so much better.
Yeah, I mean, it really was like stand out to me. It was made for $18 million, by the way. It was...
Check what Kong 05 was made for.
Alright. It was like really stand out to me when the spiders would shoot their like acid webs.
Mm-hmm.
And it looked so bad.
The
It-
t-
first
Do you
off,
mean
it
that
did
when
not
they were
move.
shooting them, or the webs themselves?
The webs themselves.
Oh, I didn't
looked
think the webs
real bad.
themselves looked as bad.
Once I noticed it, it was all I could see. Anytime a web was shot, it would like flow in an unnatural way, and it looked super superimposed, like it was just laid right on top of the actual thing, and it didn't look good.
There's a couple times when the characters are interacting with the CG things, and you can literally see their hands move through them. Like the girl gets stung in the neck.
Yeah.
When she grabs it and throws it off of her, her hands aren't anywhere near it.
No,
Yes.
I don't know if I
So-
remember.
Derek's comparison here was King Kong to The Mist. King Kong came out 2 years before.
Mm-hmm.
The Mist was made for $18 million. King Kong was made for $207 million.
Oh, well, that would explain
So
it.
maybe a
That would
slight-
explain it.
Yeah.
that makes a little sense.
But I
Slightly
mean, yeah,
better
I think there's
budget
still
There's
they
still
could've gotten
something to
around
be
it.
said that you could use practical effects and it
Yeah.
would look
Yeah,
better.
no, I know.
But I think some of it they did too much, but they didn't take it extremely overboard like some movies do.
Yeah.
What I
For the
really
most part, it was
liked,
fine. Like, the
yeah.
creatures in the mist were
the
totally...
That's what I
giant
was gonna
monster
say.
at the end,
Exactly, the giant
it
monster.
looks great because you can hardly see him.
Yeah.
It's really scary. When you see them busting in the store and flying around, and they're like those weird guys from the pod racing scene in Star Wars,
Yeah.
then you're like, maybe we could have done something a little different here.
What about the tentacles?
The tentacles I had a problem with.
You did?
When he chops it off, and you can watch the CGI end and the prop fall in, and it's a real prop, it's so noticeable. It's like, wow, that looks
Can't
really
remember
good.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then when
I remember some of it looked good, but
Yeah.
I remember once there was way more of it in the store, it started to look a little weird. Like I remember especially when what's the guy's name that works there that
The
he's
slack-jawed yokel.
no he's the one that's really
good with shooting,
good. Yeah, he's the
Captain America.
Yeah.
yeah.
I should know his name.
He's got a
'cause he was, like,
very
my
distinct
favorite.
name too.
It starts with a W.
Wade Watson. William.
Ollie Weeks.
Oh, Ollie. Yeah, Ollie.
Not
There's
W.
where he's going to like close the garage door or something, and he jumps over a tentacle.
Uh-huh.
It looked
Oh,
really
I
bad.
noticed that. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And you can tell that he jumped, and they had to animate it to make it realistic for why he'd have to jump that high. So it's like this unreasonably large tentacle for compared to the rest of them, and then it's not that large in the next scene. Ooh, there's a lot of special effects in here that I really disliked.
It's a little disappointing on two levels for me. First off, come on, Frank Darabont. You should have known.
Yeah,
He
and
should
he's
have known to
and
go
he,
practical.
He's
like
like
the original
such
horror kind of guy.
he's like such a freak about that stuff too. Like if you read his emails regarding The Walking Dead season 2, when he was like threatening to murder certain directors, it's like, you can't pull off this. Why would you ever attempt this? It's like, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who knows? It probably had something to do with the budget, maybe
Yeah,
time,
yeah. But
something like that. But
also, number two, this was a Stephen King movie, and I was really hoping for less. I didn't want to see as much of
I
these
didn't have a problem with
creatures.
seeing as much as we did.
I like the ambiguity. A lot of the times in Stephen King movies, it's more ambiguous what's happening. Even in the books, like in in the book, I feel like they never explicitly say he takes the form of a clown.
Yeah, they do. I'm reading the book.
Yeah, well, to me, I don't know.
You didn't read the book. Why would you even
I
say
know,
that?
Because it's from what I've heard in the past that he like took more.
He does take more than just the clown.
Yeah, I know that.
He's
He
a lot
cycles
more.
through. But a lot of the times it's like,
He's like hardly ever the clown.
yeah, it's less apparent. It's like I can't imagine reading the Stephen King book and the line being like, a giant bug with weird piercers that's clearly from another world lands on the glass to be eaten by a pterodactyl monster. Like, that doesn't seem Stephen King-ish to me, and I'm okay with it because it was a good movie, but like...
I didn't have a problem with that.
Most of the time, Stephen King, I'd rather the ambiguous.
So a lot of the creatures were kind of that way because the huge creatures. I mean, you saw
only little bits of them.
Yeah.
They still all looked semi-bug-like though. It was like the one that like kills Ollie looks like a praying mantis, kind of.
Something like that.
I don't have a problem with it.
The last one didn't. That thing looked like fucking
the ginormous one,
Zulu or something.
Yeah, that thing looked like
big.
That was really cool. Yeah. But
cool.
So they didn't.
I'd like to see the military fight that. How are they going to beat that?
Yeah, they're not.
They did already.
Apparently did, but
that's why the Mist one.
I think that it'd be cool if like the next one, that was what if they were to make a next one, which hopefully they don't.
It's been a while at this point.
But in some world where some Hollywood exec needs to make a sequel, it'd be cool if that was the Mist. It goes wherever he goes.
Oh yeah.
And so there's like he's projected to be in this area. You have to evacuate. Yeah. It'd be cool about like him just, I don't know, something like that. That way it's not like, hey, the Mist surrounds the world, but it's like we've closed the portal, the Stranger Things portal. The Mist follows the leader.
Yeah.
Something like that. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely a good pick. It was the first time I'd ever seen it, and I thoroughly enjoyed the movie.
First time I'd ever seen it, the Zep didn't get me because Watch Mojo. No, Watch Mojo spoiled it for me. Mm-hmm. I don't watch Mojo. Let the record show. Kyle was really into it for the longest time, and I was exposed to that ending because
the only thing I'd ever watch on YouTube was Watch Mojo.
They would put it in like every top 10 horror movie endings, top 10 plot twists, top 10 horror movies. It was always there, and you'd always see it. So I was very familiar with it.
I probably just like didn't pay attention because it wasn't a movie I'd seen.
I was very familiar with how that movie ended.
My favorite ones were on it.
Yeah, I know. I would too. But like, yeah, the thing is like some Watch Mojo things are like pretty okay because it's like cool top 10s, but then they're like
top 10 breads that stick to the wall.
They're gonna make that too because they three uploads a day, 3 top 10s a day.
Yeah, I know.
How do they do this? I don't know.
Yeah, they have to get so specific.
Yeah,
with all of them.
Yeah,
so,
no.
And then they're just so low.
If you had, what were your 2 runner-ups? Are there any others that would?
I remember one that I thought I would choose the Babadook because it was newer.
I remember hearing about that.
And it was newer and it wasn't bad. I enjoyed a new aspect to like a new creature and stuff. There was a lot that I enjoyed about it, but then there was a lot that I didn't necessarily enjoy about it either. Not that I thought was really bad, but just nothing that was really like stand out or anything that I could like really talk about. So I didn't choose that one for that reason. I don't think I had another runner-up.
What about Strangelands?
What's that?
Isn't that the one?
Oh man, Strangeland. That would have been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Strangeland is pretty good.
That's a real creepy one.
I like that one because I like when they make him good and then he goes back to his evil ways.
I have no idea what movie that is.
It's been so long since I've seen it. It's kind of like Saw in a way. It's like a torture porn movie, but it is way creepier than Saw because it's like a guy that attracts people to his house on like online
forums. Yeah, Captain Howdy.
Yes,
that's his name.
And he gets them and like tortures them and like sews their eyes and mouth shut and stuff. And it's
and
super,
he's like
fucked up.
He's really into piercings and he's got piercings all over. Like he's got like 10 just on the bridge of his nose, and so he tortures them by giving him piercings and stuff. I remember one, he like gives him the most painful genital piercing. He's like talking to him and stuff about it. And then if halfway through the movie they catch him and they give him medication and make him like better and everything. But the whole town is not over it. So they try to like hang him or whatever. And then he's off his meds. So then he goes back to being crazy and then they have to go and catch him again.
Yeah, I remember that being a real good one that I want to watch at some point again, and they're also remaking it.
Really?
They are. So at some point in the near future, there will be a new one. I think Dee Schneider is going to be in it again, the lead singer of Twisted Sisters, who played Captain Howdy.
Yeah.
He's going to be in it. He's writing for it, something like that.
Huh.
He's attached to the project. I know that.
I need to let the podcast know, because I've been asked to let the podcast know, that Dalton picked Saturday the 14th as his underrated horror movie, and then he did not show up to this podcast.
So nobody watched it.
Nobody watched it, but that was his pick. But Kyle and I have seen it in the past, and it's real bad.
It's quite terrible. And he picked it as a meme. It's not like it was his actual favorite. He also is not a horror movie guy, which is why he's not here. I don't know. It's not.
She also has dumb
genre.
excuses, like I have to go talk to my dad for the entirety of Saturday. I have to go buy shorts.
Exactly. So Dalton, since you're not listening to this, way to go. You better be here for next week's.
He's gonna be upset if you post the Black Ops as a bonus episode. And he's like, without me?
Yeah, exactly. He'll be like, the one that I could have talked about. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, time to get into mine. Derek, here's what I'm going to tell you about the movie.
By the way, here are my guesses for his so far. I had Rocky Horror. I had
Fright Night. The Thing. Tremors.
Original The
Strange
Thing or
Brew.
the new The Thing?
Strange Brew. I was going to say...
Original The Thing. Don't even fucking talk to me about the new The Thing.
Yeah, but also not the original, just the original.
Yeah, not The Thing from Another World, but John Carpenter's The Thing.
I guess Strange Brew, which I think we should do on a future episode.
I think so too. That's a classic.
What else is there?
I feel like that's about all the ones.
Oh, and I guess Texas Chainsaw 2 like 6 times.
Yeah. So, two of my runner-ups were on that list. I think the original Fright Night movie is absolutely fantastic, and it is a super underrated horror movie, but for some reason when I was picking my movie, it never even popped into my mind. And also, the original The Thing. It's a very highly regarded movie, and I don't want to call it underrated.
It's not. I wouldn't say it is.
I don't think that it's got the,
attention
that it deserves. I think that anyone who watches even if you're a casual horror watcher, you need to sit down and watch that movie because it is so good.
Yeah, I think anyone who sees it really likes it.
Yes.
But not a lot of people watch it.
And it would have perfectly fit the theme, too, because you both picked alien movies, and I most certainly did not.
Oh.
So
you did Return of the Living Dead?
I did not.
Ah, God.
He can't figure it out.
I was so close.
It's a horror movie that is not a horror movie.
It wasn't Scooby-Doo 2, because I already guessed that.
And it wasn't Scooby-Doo 2. It's not labeled... It's kind of labeled as a horror movie, but it's like an all-around movie. You've got the romance. You've got quite a bit of comedy. You've got thriller, horror aspects to it. Mystery is involved, for sure.
Clue?
No, it's not Clue. Clue, that's another good one, but I wouldn't have picked that as a Halloween movie. I don't find that one to be...
Is it on that shelf up there?
It's not. It was one that I left up in my room.
Give me a different hint.
It was the movie that scared me the most as a child.
I thought that was Fright Night or Cujo.
No. You're going to kick yourself when I tell you what this is.
Well, then tell me.
This movie is The Burbs.
Oh, snap!
Yes.
No way!
I absolutely love this movie, and I will consider this a horror-related movie, one that's good to watch on Halloween till I die. Because I think that... Let me just tell you about the movie before I get into it too much. So The Burbs obviously takes place in suburbs, USA. Little perfection town, I don't know what it's actually called. It's just about a bunch of normal people who live on the street that have non-normal neighbors move in next door. The Klopeks are what they're called, and there's Dr. Klopek, there's young Klopek. I don't actually remember their kids, but young Klopek is played by the kid that played Roach in Children of the Corn. He's a bit of a horror. He's in the horror fan base for sure. He also was in the Halloween 2007 movie and a couple other things.
What a great achievement of filmmaking that was. We'll talk about that one someday, soon.
And then you've got the old man Klopek. And they're
that German. Yes.
they're something else. They definitely don't fit into this neighborhood. But the people of the neighborhood, specifically the men that live in this little cul-de-sac, all think that there's something going on in the house. Now here's my favorite part of the movie, is a couple of these actors are fantastic. Tom Hanks is your lead role at a point where his career was just blowing up, so this isn't big Tom Hanks. This is like still modest Tom Hanks, but also one of his movies had just hit like major like popularity. I can't think of which one. Probably like Big, something like that
around that time.
You've got one of my favorite horror actors as a child, Corey Feldman.
Yeah, not a great actor in this movie, but
he was he was good. And he was also going through a lot of like personal issues in his life at this point. Corey Feldman was Frog, one of the Frog brothers in The Lost Boys. He was also Tommy Jarvis from Friday the 13th, Part 3, 4
and 5.
4 and 5, that's right. 3. I try to forget about 3. And then you've got Carrie Fisher, who played Tom Hanks' wife in this movie. Great.
Good old Carrie Fisher.
Gotta love Carrie Fisher. She was great.
Yeah, there's not a single person in this movie that I was like, that is like a noticeably bad actor who I don't like.
Yeah, I definitely thought that all of the characters in this movie are great. But what happens is you've got character Ray Peterson, Tom Hanks, Mark Rumsfeld, which is Bruce Dern. He's like the military guy in the group, and Art. We're just gonna call him Art because that's what they call him in the movie. He's got a last name, but it's ridiculous. The three of them think that something's going on in the Klopex house, and they assume that the Klopex have killed the old couple that used to live there to take the house, and they also assume that the old couple, or that the Klopex have killed Walter, who was another one of the old neighbors in the group, in the community. So Tom Hanks and his two buddies basically spend the whole movie trying to deduce what's going on in the Klopex house. They've got some ridiculous furnace in the basement that heats up to the heat of the sun and blasts light through the basement windows, which is concerning to them. Their yard is completely dead, and I mean, these guys are really disgusting, but throughout the movie they're trying to solve what's going on in the Klopex house, and it results in a big grand finale where Tom Hanks busts into the house and winds up blowing it up, and the Klopex come home, and Tom Hanks is ready to go to jail and everything because he didn't find anything. And the reason I consider this such a horror movie is because the end of this movie is so endlessly creepy, and like as a kid, this was the movie, like, I feel like I couldn't finish watching this movie as a kid because the ending scared me so much. When Tom Hanks he walks out of the house after being blown up, and he's put in the back of an ambulance. He actually puts himself in the back of an ambulance. And Dr. Klopex gets into the ambulance with him and tries to kill him because he thinks that he found the skulls that he has in the basement, because they are killers. And Roach Klopex starts driving the ambulance away, and it's just such a like tense, scary scene, especially to me as a kid. This was definitely the movie that I used to be the most afraid of.
Beetlejuice is the one that I associate with that kind of fear for me. When he turns into the snake, I used to never finish the movie after that.
But I just think that so much about The Burbs is great. You've got some like classic scenes where Tom Hanks goes into the house to eat, or they're trying to get to know the Klopex, and the Klopex bring out some like sardines from a can and start passing it around the room, and Tom Hanks eats one and starts like choking on it, and it's such a like gross scene with such gross sound effects, and the soundtrack for the movie is so goddamn good. It is absolutely fantastic.
You wanna who did the soundtrack for this movie?
Jerry Goldsmith, I want to say.
Something like that. Gremlins guy?
Gremlins guy.
You can hear it.
Yeah.
You can hear Gremlins in the soundtrack. Jerry Goldsmith?
Yep. Jerry Goldsmith. Yep, he did Gremlins. He did Planet of the Apes. He's got a lot of famous pieces that he's done. Some Star Trek music.
Yeah, who directed this one too?
I didn't ask you who directed yours.
Because I knew.
Joe Dante.
Joe Dante. Credit to Joe Dante.
Oh, the dream sequence. I forgot to talk about that. That was another thing that terrified me as a kid, is when Tom Hanks is having a nightmare where he's being like strapped to his barbecue grill, and the Klopex are trying to kill him, and like his friends they're not in on it, but they're like kind of taunting him while it's all happening, and it was big chainsaw goes in through the wall and almost kills him. It's a like crazy sequence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this movie's. I really do like this movie. It's a really funny movie, and I have a lot of good memories with it. Because initially I didn't like it as a kid. I thought it was boring. But you know, as you get older and you can start to understand humor a little more, I liked it a lot more. And then we had this one friend at a sleepover, who's like this really horny kid. Like I think that's the only way you can describe it. Well, because he's always like he was like, we were in elementary school at the time. But he was really obsessed with, like...
those fucking horny elementary schoolers.
He was really obsessed with, like, the idea of humping things, like, to an unnatural extent. And there's the two movies that are associated with him, like, even my friends will still reference it to this day. And this happened, like, way back in, like, 3rd grade, and we don't even talk to this kid anymore. But, like, Tremors was the first one. He hated it up until, at the very end, Rhonda takes off her pants. And this is the other one. He's like, can we not watch this movie? This movie's stupid. Can we not watch this movie? The whole time, up until about 5 minutes in when you see that blonde chick with the bikini.
Yeah, Bonnie.
And then he was sold. And it was his favorite movie he'd ever seen. So I have a lot of good memories. It's just funny times. I have a lot of good memories with this one. I think it's a great movie.
I think there's a lot of like clever bits too, where it's just these normal people living in the suburbs that are basically bored with their lives, and so they're trying to come up with things like, oh, the Klopeks are killing people, and it's something that we can fixate on because it's happening in our neighborhood. And like Tom Hanks having a nightmare where he's being strapped to a grill. Like, it's such a like suburban dream or nightmare, suburban nightmare. There's a lot of really clever things to it, and it's got some great quotes like, you're chanting, Ray. You're chanting.
Yeah.
I love Satan. Satan is good. Satan is my pal.
Yeah.
There's so many classic moments in this movie, and I think you'd be like hard-pressed to find anybody that can say that they've seen The Burbs or they know The Burbs outside of like people that watch The Burbs.
I posted a video on my channel where I played one of the songs on piano, and of course, because it wasn't a Godzilla video, it got like 300 views compared to the normal however many thousand, and the comments were like, oh, I've never seen this movie, oh, I've heard of this, but I've never seen it. There was like 4 or 5 that were like, oh, I love The Burbs, or, oh, Jerry Goldsmith, I love his music, I've been familiar with this because I listened to all his soundtracks, haven't seen the movie yet. But there was at least a few people who were familiar with it, like 5 people, so I was like, hey, 5 out of 40,000, that's wow, you know.
Yeah, this movie deserves so much more than it gets, and
I think it's a movie you can't hate just because it's got so much.
Oh, I know.
Was this your first time seeing it?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well,
what are your first impression?
You, like I said, you just couldn't hate it because there was so much in it, like comedy, and then there was like a comedic horror movie. I think a lot of the times is a good movie. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I don't know why, but it's hard to make a bad horror movie that's also a comedy, just because like it's almost like a horror movie that's self-aware, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Seed of Chucky. There's my example. Boom.
I think that the difference is, though, this is more of a dark comedy where that's a horror comedy.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
So this is like a comedy movie with horror elements.
And that's a horror movie with...
And that's a horror movie with...
Too many comedy elements. Too many comedic elements.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But, yeah, I just think... And I also think that this is a super, like, visually appealing movie. It's got a lot of real vibrant colors, which they did intentionally. So a lot of the yards are super bright green. And a lot of the clothes that the cast wears is, like, a bright blue, or, like, Bonnie wears the, like, red and yellow bikini.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Intro's really cool, too, with it zooming in.
On the Universal logo.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a neat idea.
Yeah.
Nice.
What's you got favorite scene? Because we already gave favorite scene for the other movies.
Oh, man. Favorite scene of The Burbs. I mean, I love that ending so much when the house explodes and he comes out and the hero's theme is playing and he, like, slides down the stairs in such a, like, goofy way. I love the ending of that movie, and it's so scary. Fun fact, they had planned multiple different endings to that movie. One where Tom Hanks finds nothing in the house but blows it up. And it turns out the Klopeks are just good people and not actually murderers. And he goes to jail, and that's how the movie ends.
Well, it wasn't. He never went to jail. You didn't know. You didn't show him go to jail.
It
was just the idea was that they were innocent.
Yeah. Oh well. So like, yeah, he was basically tormenting this innocent family that was just different from them, and that was the intended ending for the movie, because they wanted the idea to be like, you know, boredom in suburbia can lead to mindsets like that, essentially. And that would have been a really dark ending. They definitely went with the happy ending of Tom Hanks being right, and then like the Klopeks going to jail or being arrested, and
everything wraps up nicely.
And Art's wife gets home, and it's a funny moment.
And God, I love this street.
Yes. But then the alternate ending, the other one, was that Tom Hanks was put in the back of that ambulance, and the Klopeks kill him in the ambulance, and Tom Hanks' character dies.
Again, it wasn't going to be like, hey, watch him die, but it was going to be like, they lock him in there, and then they drive off, and the credits roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, too dark. I'm glad they didn't go with that.
And they were basically like, we didn't go with that because at this point, Tom Hanks' last movie had just blown up, and it was like, we didn't want to kill Tom Hanks in our movie. So
I'm glad they didn't.
No, I am too. I appreciate the ending that they went with, even though it's not the most like philosophical ending. They definitely had a more like deep thinking one, which would have been the original, where the Klopeks were innocent and Tom Hanks blew up their house. But
yeah, sure.
Yeah, I like the ending they went with.
Yep.
Best.
Good picks, guys.
All right, yeah.
Good
I've got
picks.
a question about The Mist.
Okay.
Did his kid wake up before he shot him?
Yeah, he did. The kid did wake up.
So fucked up.
The kid woke up and looked him right in the eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, they don't show that.
They do.
They do. They don't show his eye, like him look at the gun when he kills him.
Yeah, no, you just
I don't
see the
remember
kid.
him waking up and looking at
You
his
just see the
dad.
kid wake up and look at his dad, and his dad's looking down at him, and then you cut to outside the car and you watch the 4 flashes. Which obviously he shoots the kid first.
Shit.
I would. You wouldn't shoot the other 3 and then be like, son. Right? You'd
Yeah.
shoot the kid first.
Yeah.
I would have given the kid the gun and had him kill everybody.
You're going to make it.
That 6-year-old killed. I don't know how old he was.
Well,
Probably
and,
like 10.
and it's the kid who was like earlier in the movies, like, under no circumstances are you letting the monsters kill me. I will die by any other means other than the monsters. You have to promise me. Mm-hmm. He didn't word it as elegantly.
Yeah, I think he just said, "Don't let the monster get me."
Yeah, he pretty much did. He was like, "Promise that you'll never let me die by the monsters. That if I die, it won't be by the monsters. Promise me."
Okay. Yeah.
I blame the kid.
I think I personally would have given the gun to Dale, and I would have been like, "Here you go, bud."
You pass it. It's like hot potato. Everyone's passing it around. No one wants to use it, and then the military rolls up, and you're like,
"Ooh, it's a good thing we played this game, huh, guys? The loaded gun, just tossing it around."
Then you have your kid there, and when you see Carol, you flip her off, and you're like, "We made it too."
Yeah.
Idiot.
Man, see, I don't know what I would have done.
I don't think.
I feel like I would have. In his position, I might have done the same thing he did. And then what would you do after that?
Yeah.
I would have gotten myself killed.
I would have shot the other 3 and then myself and left my son to just
Wakes up from
sit
his
in the
nap
blood
after
bath.
like 4 gunshots.
When the kid
Everybody's
didn't know
dead.
his mom was dead either, so the kid didn't know what he lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think he
Pretty
saw
rough.
his mom.
Pretty rough.
Yeah. We definitely had the most to say about The Mist, so
For
whether
sure.
that means that in terms of this podcast that one wins, let us know down below.
Which is your favorite of the 3?
How
Nobody's
many-
seen the Burbs, so they can't choose that.
Exactly.
No one's seen They Live either.
Yeah,
guaranteed.
chances are the modern audience hasn't seen They Live, even though everyone wears They Live clothing, because the Obey line is based off of They Live.
Mhm.
But no one would be able to tell you that.
How many sunglass lenses out of one magic pair of sunglasses do you give each movie? Let us know down below, and then write why you chose which one won.
This is
damn it.
painful.
But you have to write it using only emojis.
Aren't you the YouTuber? You've done the worst fucking intro and outro ever.
But they have to write it using only emojis on why they have
rate
to.
the movie using nothing but emojis.
Write the name of each movie, and then next to it, put 4 emojis that represent your feelings on it, but they also, at the same time, have to let us know which one you thought was best without using actual words.
Oh, I know what I would have done in the mist. I would have shot my son 4 times.
Oh my god.
What would you guys have done in the end of the mist?
Yeah, what would you have done in the end of the mist? But what if it's the book ending where the world is dead, right? Or whatever. And then you have the gun, right? And you can kill them and let yourself die. But instead you just fire 3 of the bullets and then kill yourself like out the window so that they have to deal with it.
Just like...
Son, I believe in you.
Kind of held your hand outside of the window and pulled the trigger. That way when your hand dropped, the gun would fall outside
So
of the
they
car.
have to go get it?
Exactly.
You just honk on the horn and then you run out there and shoot yourself.
You could have fucked over the rest of the people.
I would have, before the fuel ran out, I would have got 80, stuck my head out the window, shot, gun falls out.
Here's what you do. You don't use the gun on your people in the car. Instead, you're driving and you're like, we're not going to make it out. You turn around before your fuel runs out. You drive through the window of the grocery store. You kill as many as you can. And then you just accept it. And then the credits roll.
I think you just plow the car through the glass at the grocery store and then kill the people in the car and be like...
Oh, yeah, that's a good one, too.
That way they're all eaten by monsters.
Yeah.
What do you think happened to all the people in the grocery store?
I hope they're
They
dead.
all made it out, those motherfuckers.
I know,
You think
they
so?
totally
Yeah,
did,
they
but I
had
hope
to
they're
have.
dead.
Yeah.
Which is
The
why...
Sunny Family cult lives on.
That's a show.
Yeah,
That's a show we watched in German me and Justin watched. It's on Crypt TV for those interested.
Nobody.
That's a YouTube channel. See you guys next time for the next one, which will be about the Halloween franchise.
Is it the best franchise ever?
Find out next
we'll
time.
figure it out.
Our contender is officially the Predator. See you guys later.
It's Saw.
See you guys later.
Saw.
No, well, the podcast ended right as I
Saw
said
v
Predator.
Halloween.
No,
You're not
it
the one
hasn't
editing
yet.
it.
Yeah, and you didn't even tell them to click on screen now to watch the last episode of the
Click on
podcast.
screen now to watch the last
Oh,
episode.
you're doing it wrong. It needs to be more seductive right into the mic than that.
Or click on screen on the other side of the screen to see the playlist where we have all the episodes of the podcast.
Yeah, do that. Just do that.
Listen to them
could
all the way through, start to finish. We don't even put ads, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, Godzilla 154. I happen to know you haven't made it to the end of the Predator podcast. So.
Yeah, you guys are still working on that Predator podcast.
Or any. He hasn't. No one has commented any of the things we tell them to at this point.
Yeah, guys. How many sunglass
Lenses out of-
lenses?
Do you
out
want to do a
Karen
sexy
Magic.
outro?
Is this royalty-free music?
I have no idea.
Hit us with,
It's a sexy cover of "Ain't No Sunshine," but
hit us with
go
a
with
hit
it.
us with a seductive ending, Kyle, like when you did for the other one.
That was like a shitty iDubbbz version of an outro.
Hit us with it.
Hey, thanks for making it this far into the podcast. Comment down below what your favorite underrated horror movie is. How many sunglass lenses out of one pair of magic sunglasses do you give They Live?
What 4 emojis would you pick to rank all movies that we talked about?
If you were in the end of The Mist, how would you handle that situation?
I make
And
love.
do you live in the
to all.
suburbs?
Do you live in the suburbs?
Click on screen now to see last week's episode of the podcast, or click on screen now to subscribe to the podcast, or click on screen now to see the playlist of the podcast. Until next time.
Peace out, homies.
Oh yeah.